Hey, 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 Dr. Minesha here, affectionately known as Dr. M. Always a pleasure to be in the Peace Driven Leader Lounge. On today, I have none other than Miss Donna Dube. Thank you so much for entering the lounge with us on today. Where are you joining us from? What part of the world?
Yes, hello, good afternoon. I'm here from Toronto, Ontario in Canada.
Awesome. Canadian. I love it. I
Yeah.
have definitely connected with a lot of Canadians over the past week. So that is just really interesting. I'm really looking forward to speaking with you. Before we get started, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping for those who are listening for the very first time. I want to say welcome. I'm so glad that our paths crossed when it did. Listen, if you are here, it's because we have one thing in common. We have many lives, many lived experiences, many accomplishments and we have a lot of things that are different about us, but one thing that I find to be true about the people who are connected with the Peace Driven Leader Lounge is that we all really are passionate about true leadership, leading in private and in public, and really understanding the stewardship through leadership. There is a heavy weight of responsibility that comes with this role. And if you're listening, that's because you are a natural leader or you've developed the skills to be a leader that has you in positions where you're leading other people. If that is you, then you want to stay connected because we have conversations that matter, conversations that go far beyond the boardroom and into life, lived life, real life. And so I have no idea what Donna is going to say, and she has absolutely no idea what I'm going to say, and that is okay. And so we're going to have some fun today. I want to officially welcome you again, Donna, to the lounge. Why don't you start by introducing yourself and giving us a little insight as for some of your experiences up until this point of your journey?
Yes, thank you. So happy to be here. So I currently serve small business owners in helping them get out of the weeds and really lead their business the way they should, not be an overworked employee that many currently are. And my journey to get here has been twisty and windy and long, definitely not straight and narrow. And so some things I'm very proud of in terms of where I've got to so far is started my career actually in healthcare, worked in ICU for a number of years as a nurse. Well, that's a different type of leadership, certainly shows leadership skills in being able to help those patients get through a very difficult time as well as their families. And then
Mm,
from there, husband and I started a family and decided we wanted to homeschool our kids. So that
mm,
became my project for a good number of years. Again, quite a bit of leadership there, different kind, but certainly,
yeah.
yeah, leadership there. But it's certainly, something I'm proud of, and not something I would like to that I regret by any means. Of course, there were those
Hmm.
days when I wondered,
Oh, yeah. I
but
homeschooled for a few years. All of my kids, actually, certain periods of life, yeah. So I understand very
yes,
well.
yes. And now in the business field, I would say one accomplishment that I really am proud of is helping business owner really get out of the weeds. And so in particular, we had this business owner who had to move internationally while keeping her business going. And she was like, I don't know how to do this. I have to set up accounting, lawyers. I don't know. What about the team? And so I
Mm,
was able to walk her through that step by step, making sure that we did things ahead of time so that there weren't any emergencies along the way. And she was able to
mhm.
take a month off, move without worrying about the
Wow.
business. Yeah. And at the end of the day, most of her team are still with her, and she's really been able to flourish as the leader of that business, knowing that the day to day is being taken care of by her team. So, certainly something that I love doing, but most importantly, I love seeing the relief that the
Mm.
business owner gets. That the shoulders come down, the shrug is gone, and she just knows we've got this.
You just said a word that is so near and dear to my heart in terms of the service that I want to bring every single day to leaders, and that is relief. That is something that is truly needed. When you are called to serve and everyone is looking to you to be the one to give, to have the answers, to do, and then do, sometimes it's hard to even stay still without feeling like you have to do something. And so, one of the things, a big message that I ring supreme any opportunity that I get is being able to leverage the support of professional help because there's a lot of trauma around delegating tasks to people who are not professionals. You know, maybe you feel like it's less expensive, but it ends up costing so much in the long run. Not to mention the mental toll that it does that you don't even want to delegate. Now you have trust issues and all of these things that's acquired just because you delegate it improperly. It's not about the
Yeah.
delegation, right? And so it sounds like that you've had quite a few leaders who has delegated your company as a way to bring relief in transitions, transitioning to another part of the world. Wow. That
Yeah.
is a big
And,
shift.
but I think there's this mindset out there that the leader has all the answers. They know everything.
Yeah.
They can do everything. Right. And I
Yeah.
think we have to get rid of that and look at it to say, no, the leader has a zone of genius, just like the virtual assistant does, just like the admin does, just like the manager does. We all have our zones of genius. And when we're allowed to operate in that zone, that's when we flourish. That's when we thrive. But if we're asked to also operate in 5 other zones that aren't our genius, that's when things start to feel heavy and everything is weighing us down and really doesn't allow us to be able to really bring our best forward.
Absolutely. Why don't you share with us some of the decisions that you see that are often made from being in pressured states like that?
Yes, yes. So a lot of things, again, in the business world are not life and death, meaning that it doesn't have to happen today. It could happen tomorrow or next week, but we need to plan for that ahead of time. And knowing where we're going in the next week, in the next month, in the next 3 months is so important. And I think lots of times in this world, we're more focused on what's the fire today? What's burning that I need to fix today? And we don't allow time to step
Mhm.
back and actually do that planning and be strategic, right? So, as an example, frequently my clients will come to me, I got this great idea. This other business owner I know is doing this. I think we should implement it yesterday. Right? And it's a great tactic, no doubt, but we have to take some time to analyze, is this right for where this business is right now? Is this aligned with the leader and how they would like to show up? Do we have capacity? What other things are we already working on that we already said were priorities? And do we have
Right.
capacity to add this as well? And then most importantly, how are we going to measure if we're successful?
That
Eh,
word right there, measure, measure. Now tell us some of the ways in which you measure your clients' outcomes.
Yeah, definitely. So I do not focus on what I call vanity metrics. So how many people liked, how many people responded? No,
Right,
if you're on social media and you're putting a post out there, people actually have to take action. And that's what we want to measure. Did they take action and sign up for the webinar? Did they download the lead magnet? Are they, ask more questions about a product or program or service that you sell? And so when I'm looking at metrics, yes, we have to look at revenue because, of course, we need to be making money and having a profit, right? But
right,
beyond
right.
that, we have to dig into what other strategies are we doing for marketing, for visibility, and for sales. And we have to measure metrics on each of those areas. So if we're spending time on a certain strategy for marketing, what's the return on investment? Right? So we can
Mm,
say, okay, every month the leader is putting on a free masterclass. Well, are people purchasing the program
mhm.
off of that masterclass? If they're not, there's a disconnect somewhere.
Yeah, and I love this conversation so much because I'm a numbers geek when it comes to things like this. And I really want for those who are listening who are like, "Hey, I'm in corporate. I don't have a business yet." I want you to notice two things. One is it's so interesting how when you're in corporate, you think that you could never really be an entrepreneur, especially in your leadership. I'm telling you, even as a corporate, I am doing some of the exact same things that I was doing for their company in my business, you know? And so it's so interesting how we get deceived thinking, listening to her talk about these metrics, but this is the exact same thing that the company that you're working with now does. You're just doing it for
Yes,
yourself this time, right? And so
exactly.
we never, I would never tell anyone, "Hey, leave your job tomorrow." No, I really am, especially in this generation, Donna, and where we are in our country. I know you're from Canada, but we are in the most uncertain
Yeah,
times of
yeah.
in the history, right? And so, job security is not as secured.
Mhm.
Even as entrepreneurs, the goal is to be able to create as many streams of income as you can, especially now. And, you know, being able to create multiple streams within one business is incredible. And a lot of times people in corporate, their disconnect is that they can't imagine. They get peace from not having to be responsible for all of those different nuances that come along with the business. And so that is why I am a huge advocate of hiring professional help because you have predictable income. If you're listening and you're still working, listen, if the job doesn't feel aligned where you are, go get another job that feels aligned, because we are living in a day and time where you can truly be effective at your work while hiring professionals that can run your business. It's incredible with the technology that we have today, paired with the professional wisdom and expert of humans that can give corporate individuals a leverage that I don't think that they've yet to realize that they have.
Yes.
You know what I
Yes,
mean?
it's true because I think a lot of people think, "Oh, if I start a side hustle, I'm gonna have to be in it all the
Mhm.
time," right? That's not necessarily true, but you're right. You do have to have someone you trust, someone who
Mhm.
knows what they're
Mhm.
doing behind the scenes to be
Mhm.
able to do some of that for you and to also fill you in and keep you updated. Okay, this is this
Mhm.
way, right? Are we going to move to the left or to the right? So there's still
Mhm.
some decisions you're going to have to make for sure, but you don't have to be in
Yeah.
there making every image and
Yeah.
making every email and
Yeah.
right?
When you really get
Yes.
the right support and you learn how to lead, like you said, your zone of extraordinary, you know, every leader has that zone. And if you can operate, 20% of that zone, the 80% is for your team. And too often we are trying to be the stabilizer instead of orchestrating the stabilization. And so it's hard for us to really see that there is capacity there. It's just that it's in lack of a structure. So I would love to hear in terms of when you mentioned the metrics. The other thing that I really wanted to talk to you about in terms of like how much do you see the person, the leader, their values, their principles, their character, their mindset, everything that encompasses that leader play a role in the strategies that you bring, you know? Do you feel like that both have to be that alignment, or have you taken an entrepreneur that had a poor attitude or that was discouraged, or their mindset wasn't as positive as yours, and you were still able to get them results, or do you believe that they have to be pretty in sync in order to?
Hmm. Good question. Yes, I will take it from a little different angle, and that is that when I'm working with a client, before we decide to work together, I'm very strategic on what their goals are, what their mission is, and what their values are as a person. Because I find when those match, it's much easier for us to work together. Because the truth of the matter is, I don't always say yes. Right? Sometimes
Mm.
I say, "No, that's not good right now because," right? I'm not saying no just to say it. I've got a reason for it, but so sometimes there's some friction, no doubt, good
Mhm.
friction, but there is
Mhm.
friction. And so that trust really needs to be there that they believe, yes, I'm doing the best for that I can for their business. So those
Mhm.
values I like to see matched. In terms of once we start working together, if, for example, they've delegated before and they feel like it just doesn't work, I've tried it, I've hired XYZ, that I'm willing to work with. Let's dig into that more. What actually did you do? What happened? And how can we do it differently to get a better outcome?
Mhm. I love that.
Right? Yeah.
Especially if you're neurodivergent. that type of questions and that type of support is what I'm really excited about, moving into because I'm a strong advocate. I know that it works because I have that type of support. And with the We Rise app, if you haven't downloaded it yet, you all please do. You're in for a treat. You have experts like Donna who are in there sharing legacy insights like she is today and conversations that matter around topics like this to really help you to kind of lean in to what life could be like. Like imagine life without you doing it yourself. Imagine life with a guide who has expert wisdom, who can see what you can't see, who's willing to tell you, like Donna said, that two-letter word, no, or not now, you know?
Yes.
That's powerful stuff to have someone that is truly have your best interest at heart because as leaders of leaders, who's telling us no?
Mm,
You know?
yes.
That has
Yes.
actually been one of my biggest blind spots up until this point in my life. It's that no one wouldn't dare. I had to literally pay for coaches because of that reason. I was so passionate. I was so convicted. It was like one of my coaches, like it's like a train zooming by fast. Like, get out of the way, get out of the way. When she said on something, she's convicted. And so I love what you said when you said, I'm not just gonna say no. I'm gonna explain why it's not now or so no. That's how my brain works. I need to know why. And I'm
Yes.
learning
Yes.
now that sometimes you won't always know why, and that's where that trust comes in. So I love that you said that too, having to make sure that you foster that trust. And a lot of that, it comes from inner healing and, mindset shifts and things like that. What do you think are some blockages that you have found when it comes to clients' ability to get like the best result? Like those clients who you just like, wow, they really took my support and ran with it versus clients who got results, but they could have gotten more, but XYZ was in the way. What are those things?
Yes. So I think a couple mindsets that come up frequently is money blocks. So not that they can't make money, but they can't envision making more.
Mm,
And what that would look like, what their day to day would be like if they were making, a million instead of 250,000 in revenue, right? So pushing beyond sort of where they are now and imagining where they want to go, that's difficult sometimes.
yeah.
And that blocks them from being able to take the steps to move towards
Wow.
that. Yeah.
Wow.
The other side is fits with that a little bit, but just playing small.
Mm,
Right? And so when they're talking to people, if they go to networking groups or they're doing, different partnerships, the business is a little thing they do over here. It's not
mm,
confident, it's not coming out authentically, and really saying, "Yes, I make an impact. I change women's lives," or I, help kids or whatever the thing is. And so, yes, just being able to spread those wings a little bit and say, right, I
mm.
am a business owner, I am a CEO, and I'm making a difference in the world.
Yeah, that's powerful. Absolutely. And what do you think that when you think about, especially even a person who has gone through corporate experiences or the environment of it or in the environment. If you're listening, you know exactly what I mean. That comes along with the politics of corporate. And, it has its beautiful traits. I mean, a lot of the systems and structure that I've created, I got it from being in a corporate setting. But I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the mental toll that certain environments can create. And how do you recommend, entrepreneurs who are bridging out into, corporate leaders who are bridging out into the entrepreneur world or may have it business part time? What are some day to day practices that you would recommend to help to break those money blocks and those ceilings?
Yes, I think a couple things crop up here. One is really about expectations. So, in the corporate world, many times you're on all the time. The phone
Mm,
dings, it's expected that you're doing something and you're answering, right? And entrepreneurship does not need to be like that. Not at all. And so there are certainly your priorities, and those have to be worked on, and you have to make some progress on those. But it's okay. to take a Friday afternoon off because you want to go get a massage. It's
Mm,
okay to go to your kids' sports games, right?
mm,
As long as you have that team to help you and you have systems and processes behind the scene, you don't have to be on all the time. So that's one thing that I see happens frequently in the mindset is that I have to be continuously laptop, phone, whatever it is. I can't let this go,
mhm.
right? The
Yeah.
other piece of that is expecting team to do the same. So, scenario, a link breaks on a Saturday afternoon. So, leader texts whoever's on the team, we need to fix this ASAP. But the expectation is not that team is working on the weekend, right? And so nothing gets done until they come back to their desks on Monday morning. And so that sometimes can set leaders up thinking, okay, this isn't the right team member. They don't have my back. But again, the expectation wasn't there that they were to be checking or to do anything on the weekend. And so really making expectations and boundaries clear for yourself, but also for your team. So if you are
Absolutely.
not expecting them to work on the weekend, that's fine. Send a quick email to your list to say, sorry, wrong link. Here's the correct one, right? Or leave it until Monday and apologize on Monday. Again, it's not life and death.
Yeah. You know, that's one of the things that I realized too, just working in corporate and being an entrepreneur and seeing a lot of the alignment there. It's the same thing that I always say with peace driven leader, and that is boundaries, organization, and sustainable systems.
Hmm.
It's the same focus in corporate, and it's the same focus in entrepreneur. You have to get really exceptional with setting proper boundaries and understanding that they evolve as you evolve, seasons evolve, right? And then exceptionally organized, which is what you were just saying too. You know, having those SOPs in place, just like the company does. It's
Yeah.
literally a mirror, and they have modeled for you what structure looks like in a business. And all you have to do is emulate it and put your culture, your embodiment, your the things that you didn't like and create something. And as small or as massive as you get to decide. And that's
Hmm.
what's so powerful about this. I can tell you, I haven't worked with you personally. I've spoken with you before the podcast, of course, but you just carry this peaceful spirit on you. You know, grace and just you mentioned just confidence and certainty, but still transparency as well. And I really love that about you because I'm telling you, the journey has its highs and lows. And it feels so special when you can connect with someone who just sounds grounded, and is able to give you that wisdom and still tell you what you need to hear. It's beautiful. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
thank you,
So
thank you.
thank
I
you.
remember working with a client and she wanted to start a new project, which was writing a book. Okay. And she wanted this book to then be a marketing asset and also to share her thought leadership. But she was having trouble actually finding the time to sit down and write. She had a book coach who was kind of helping her with what's the angle, what's the topic, what's this going to look like, but actually getting time to do it was difficult. And
Mhm.
although she wasn't diagnosed at ADHD, I was suspecting she probably had some of those tendencies.
Yeah.
So I said to her, "Okay, let's evaluate your week. Let's look at what's going to work for you." And so we went through some different options. What about blocking off an hour on Monday morning, let's say, or on Saturday afternoon where you have quiet to write the book? We tried that, but again, she was when the phone dings, she had to go look at it and that
Yeah.
pulled her into something else.
Yeah.
And so we ended up actually her renting a cottage away from family, away from team, away from business, and just
That's how I
spending
get the
some
best work done.
concentrated hours, right? Yeah. And
I
so,
it's so ironic you said that because I even thought about, man, it'd be cool just to do retreats like that. If we just get away and just have that silence, we get, like, amazing things done as
yes,
neurodivergent folks. Yeah.
yes, yes. But again, it took some convincing to make her realize, yes, I can actually do this. It's going to be okay, right? I can step away. My team knows I'm gone. They don't need to interrupt. My family's okay with it. And yes, it turned out beautiful. She was able to get some real progress done. But just having someone to bounce those ideas off of and look at how can we do this differently that's going to fit with you.
That's powerful. So if you had to leave the people with one thing that they're going to take with them back out there in that stressful universe, that chaotic place that a lot of people call life,
Yes.
then what would you let them receive from you on today? What do you have for us?
Yeah. So it's one of my favorite quotes by James Clear. I'm going to paraphrase it because I won't get it right. But he basically says, "We think there isn't enough time, but the truth of the matter, there's enough time. We just need more focus." And so, really being able to, whether you're in corporate thinking about starting a business or you already have a business going, is really being able to say, what are my real priorities? And being okay with letting go of what isn't at the top of that list.
I love that. And listen, she's just leading me right into the I Lead We Rise app. So download that because we use AI, but that is one of the things. It literally learns your life goal and puts it into your 12-month goal, your 90-day goal, and shows you what your top 3 priorities should be according to what you said is important to you. And that way you don't even have to think about it. Long as you put that overarching goal in and you do that micro action every day, that's what it's about because you're going to do the company's goals. You already have your rhythm with that. You're going to hit that. But what about you? What about your goals? What about your business? What about what you're building? No, what about your legacy? And this is what Donna is speaking here today, that there's people that are skilled, that are passionate, that are discerning, that have an environment and a lifestyle in beautiful Canada uh, without all the stress of America, where food is cheap and the cost of
Ah.
living. I gotta come visit. I gotta come visit down there. I have a couple of friends that live there, and my mom also does as well. So, gotta come in
Oh,
that space and visit with
yeah.
you. But
Yes.
what is the
Coming
biggest
the spring
difference?
and summer when the weather's nicer.
I hear, yeah, that's what I hear. What is the biggest difference? Have you been to the States before?
I have actually.
Okay.
When I graduated long time ago now, I went and worked in Houston, Texas for a couple of years.
All right. Did you
Yeah,
notice
yeah.
is it a drastic difference or is
Not
it
a drastic
yeah?
difference, no. Of course, language is very similar, so that was no big deal. I would say I noticed a few things. The prices of different food. Of course, I was in the
Mhm.
South, so fruits, vegetables were
Mhm.
plenty, very cheap compared to here,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And then, but the other thing I noticed was a bigger divide, I would say, unfortunately, between white, black. That was much more obvious
Mm.
than
Yeah. In the
where we have
States,
here.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
and I can tell that too just in how I interact. There is a sweet, unity that I feel there as well. So, it's so interesting that you said that. I think this is a great way to close, is that one of the things that as leaders, as we can posture ourselves in is leading with love first. That's why with peace-driven leaders, love, live, and lead differently. The differently is just understanding that we are different and it's okay. We have different
Yes.
values, we have different principles, we have different standards, we have different beliefs, and that is okay. And when we really accept that and we truly learn to love people, that's how I feel like, this love can return and this unity can return back to our country. And so that is a part of the mission as well with peace driven leaders that when we all lead ourselves from that state of true love and true authenticity and respecting each other's, journey, then together we rise. So I appreciate you for being such a instrumental part and this work that we're doing. And I appreciate you for the insight, the legacy level insight that you've shared with us. And before we close, I just want to remind you peace driven leadership is not something you find, it's something you create. And this is your moment to create it. Until the next episode, bye bye for now.